My special guest today is a former musician, recording engineer, producer, and now a lecturer at the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, which is the Paul McCartney Fame School. What a build-up. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show today Mr. John Reynolds. How you doing, John?
I'm great, mate. I was just looking behind me then, seeing there was someone else you were putting on.
John, we first met, mate, in the early 90s, both on the Liverpool music scene, playing the pubs and clubs around the city. There were a lot of duos around at the time, and you and Richie Stone were in Cafe Cuba. I always thought that was a cool name, Cafe Cuba. I was in the Snag Is with Stevie Pring. We had Tom Tom with Joe Cork and Gary Mack and many more. They were great times, weren't they?
Oh man, what times they were. We got a bit lost, I think, along the way several times. Ended up down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing, mate. Yeah,
They were great days because we were always busy. The music scene was thriving, and we were all playing a few nights a week.
you think about everywhere in Liverpool, it's a small city.
Yeah.
But you had about half a dozen places in Bootle to play, all of Breck Road, Anfield, all of Park Road. I mean, you could literally play 10 nights, 10 gigs a week.
Yeah, we were all doing the same venues, and the rotation was great. You know, you'd be in the Blobber one Friday, we'd be there the following Friday, whatever. And just fantastic times, and that's how we all got to know each other, as I recall.
We were all in each other's pockets. It's a very incestuous circuit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
A little bit of rivalry for gigs, and Tom Tom, Joey Cork, and he's gone missing, by the way, mate. No one can find Joey Cork.
I haven't seen Corky for years. Obviously, I've been over here for a while, but
There's
I've
an
not.
actual website. Who's anyone seen Joey Cork?
Really? You're kidding?
Honestly, man, yeah, he's done one. And I have no idea. He's dropped off the face of the earth.
Oh, God, I just hope he's okay.
Really bizarre, like.
Good guy, Yeah. But prior to them days, John, you actually had a record deal with EMI, right?
Yeah, man, yeah. I mean, I was always a reluctant, I'm going to say the word, cabaret artist.
Okay.
It's a bit like, you start off in the Premier League and you work down to the Championship, and then you keep going till you fall off and end up in the National League. And I always seen cabaret as a little bit like that. But the other thing that worried me about it was that I seen what it done to you lot and everyone else. and I swore to my missus that I'd never ever do the same, and I ended up doing it. Bought right into it. Loved every minute of it, Joe, yeah.
When did you start out in music?
Very early, about 13. I mean, I was literally looking through a catalogue, with all the underwear, as you do. And come to the page with, lecky guitars on it. And I'm sitting here in the front room with about two of my mates, and we said, that looks good. Should we start a band? and I bought this really, really awful Fender Strat copy called a Top 20. I mean, the action was like 6 inches off the fretboard, it was crazy. Cost me 55 pence a week. And I had to hide it behind the couch in its box because I didn't tell me mum or my dad had bought it. My other mate, Jimmy, is mad at the catalogue, so she allowed us to buy them, Jimmy got a slightly more expensive one, a Les Paul copy, an Avon, which was an infinitely better guitar. I couldn't understand how he was getting good and I wasn't, I was getting really jealous. Steve-O had the most money, so we made him get the drums. And that's where it all started, man, yeah. And literally, we just didn't even know how to tune it. Thought you could plug it in the mains. I know it's a cliche, but it's so true. There was a guy we found out that lived somewhere along Hawthorne Road who knew 3 chords. So we used to go and knock on his door. Hey, mate, can you tune our guitar and teach us that A minor? Or something crazy. we released the record when I was 15.
What was the name of the band?
We didn't have a name, so we thought we'd have to think of a name.
The band with no name?
I copied the name off an album cover. Oh, what was it? It'll come to me. Go back to that one.
John, while still doing your live gigs with Cafe Cuba, you went into recording, engineering and production, opening Benson Street Studios in Liverpool. Talk us through that, how that began.
Yeah, I think it was, although we were doing the clubs and the pubs, I was still had half an eye on writing and doing my own material. And then when you write, everyone says the best way to write is to collaborate, with other people. So it was a development from there. I carried on working with Richie, doing our own material as well, or trying to. And the studio just seemed like a really good idea, a place where we could go in there and record our own material. And it ended up after about 12 months, the last thing we were doing. We were just trying to make money out of it and recording other people. Didn't quite go the way I expected, but it was a great time though. We had a good laugh.
It's a great little place. I mean, a lot of singers and bands from all over went to Benson Street. I remember doing a lot of sessions with you myself, and I still have those recordings, by the way.
Oh,
I've still got them all. Actually,
I remember you going in, you'd always used to, I don't know whether you've got this thing or you've grown out of it, but you used to have the booth completely blacked out so that no one could see you singing.
That's right.
You put towels over the windows and everything when you were recording your vocal,
yeah.
So no one could see. I don't know why. It was only me there. But you were still really, really, come out, used to be sweating bullets.
I'm like that on stage now.
You put a towel on your head. I'm not having that.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I did. I was just, put the towel over the bed. Didn't want to look at anybody. Just stayed in the dark with the little red light on.
You were in the zone. You knew what you wanted. And that was the way you needed to get it. It's important. Everyone has their own little idiosyncrasies, don't they? Going in. It's about being comfortable. And that was your thing. That
was my thing, right? Yeah. Actually, a memory stands out for me one time when I brought in a good mate of mine. You remember Tommy Bowden? I brought Tommy in to play an acoustic solo on one of the songs. Tommy was rehearsing his part in that booth, not realising that you had recorded his part while he was rehearsing it. And it came out great. It had a real Spanish-style feel. When you said, that was great that Tommy done it, and he said, oh, no, I was only practising. He wanted to do it again and again. But I remember you told him that, you said, look, Tommy, it was so good. I'm going to go to travel agents and book me holidays to Spain. I always remember that.
Oh, man, that's a great line. Yeah. I'd forgotten, but I always record the run-through, even with the singers, because 99 takes later, you always go back to it and you go, oh, that one was good. When was that? Oh, yeah, it was the first one you've done. And it's remarkable how many times that is the case. Because, it's that red light syndrome. Soon as the light goes on, man, everyone gets uptight, nervous, and it's different. When you're relaxed, you don't think it matters. It just pours out. Guitar, doesn't matter what the instrument is,
That's a fact.
Probably a few of them on your stuff is first take, and I've not really told you.
Absolutely true. I've just finished the recording session a couple of days ago. The guy I work with here, John Maraglio, is from New Jersey. He graduated from the Berklee College of Music in Boston. Great production guy, and he really works you, especially vocally. He worked me so hard the other day because I've just done this new song, and I had the harmonies worked out, and he said, no, let's do some low harmonies as well. 5 hours we were there. I see what you mean about the red light syndrome, yeah? You do.
Yeah,
people go, we're recording. Oh, no. Yeah.
No, honestly, it's weird. Really bizarre. And I was the same. When I was recording myself with my band, and always the same. I was great until the little red light went on. Madness. John,
you decided you wanted a career change, but wanted to remain in the entertainment industry. So you took a course which led to the job you do today at LIPA. When did you decide you wanted something new, and how long did it take you to study for all this?
Yeah, so it was always in the back of my mind, Joe. You probably got said to you when you were a kid, when are you going to get a proper job? All that one. And
I'm still getting it said to me.
I am, mate. And grow up and get a proper job.
Yeah.
It's not happened, I'm afraid. I'm proud of it. No, so it was always in the back of my mind. I got to about 35, 36, and I thought, bit of payback time for me missus, really, maybe think about it. And I only thing I thought I'd actually enjoy doing or could do would be teaching. So I was in the studio, and you get a lot of people coming in going, how do you work this? How do you work that? And I always used to take the time. We even had a couple of kids come in and do work experience. And I looked into it, and I applied for the LIPA sound technology degree, and I didn't get in. So I applied the next year, and I didn't get in. So I'm 39 now, or 38, and I'm thinking, I'll try one of the others. And I went for the management degree. It's called Enterprise Management at the time. Do you remember a guy called Jed Ryan, Ryan O'Neill?
I do.
Drummer who sings. And Colin Heron, he was at LIPA. He'd done a year. And he said, it's a good course. Why don't you have a look? So I applied, and it was like a big, long interview, and it was a bit of a mess, to be honest. But they let me in, and there you go. And while I was there, I started doing little bits of teaching, just helping out in schools and things.
Yeah.
So that was it. So it was 3 years. It was 3 years full-on studying. Joe, I left school with a CSE and a GCSE in art. And I thought, how am I going to get past the first week? I genuinely had no clue how I was going to get past the first week, but I absolutely loved it. I was just like a sponge. I wasn't even the oldest in the class, which I was made up about. There was an old fella older than me in there, Then there was Germans, loads. It was very continental, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
And I missed one lecture in 3 years because I was bladdered. And I ended up running out the classroom to spew up, but I was actually bladdered, but that was the one lecture in 3 years. I loved it. So that was it, really, yeah. And I was, you have to go on and try and get a little bit of work somewhere else. I went to FE first, St Helens College, and then eventually I got headhunted for Glyndŵr University in Wales, and I was there about 8 to 10 years. And then the same thing happened. Lipper asked me to come up to Lipper, and fill in for someone initially. So I don't know if you know Dave Picciolinghi. No, Dave was in a band in the 80s, record deal and stuff, 29 Summers or something. He was at Lipper as a lecturer, but he wanted to start a festival. So he took a year out to start Liverpool Sound City, which is quite a big festival now, It's an urban festival for newish bands.
I know that festival,
and he took a year out to do that. He took a sabbatical, and they borrowed me for a year, and then I forgot to go back.
Talking about Lipper, I applied myself when I very first opened the college, and I didn't get in. But I remember there's a big uproar over it because the people of Liverpool were not getting in when it first opened. The rich kids from America and Japan and everywhere with the rich mummies and daddies were just paying the fees. They all wanted to study in the Paul McCartney Famous School, and they flew over to Liverpool. But the Liverpool people weren't getting a chance in the beginning. It's changed now, I know. One of my cousins graduated from there. I know a couple of kids who've been there. But in the very beginning, it was tough to get into, to get a grant to get into.
100%, mate. With you all the way there. I think the management route was the easiest one to get on, by the way.
Okay.
It was practically impossible to get on the acting, and it still is. You get like something. You used to get 5,000 applications for 20 places.
Wow.
From all over the world. It's probably now about 1,500, but it's still competitive. Music has expanded an awful lot. There's a lot more students now on the music degree, probably about 150 each year. So, and it used to be around about 40 then when you were trying.
Yeah.
So it was always a hard degree to get on. But you're right, there were barriers there for Liverpool people. There's no doubt about it, there really isn't. And a lot of pressure. I mean, I'm very proud to be from Liverpool. Like
Me
yourself.
too.
From the inside, I've done my best to make that right. And there weren't that many people from Liverpool working there either, initially. Yeah. And it's better. It is better, but it's 25 years on, so it's got to be better, hasn't it?
25 years, is that how long now?
25 years, mate. Yeah.
So you say you spent 10 years at the University of Wales. You're in Wales for 10 years?
Near enough, man. I left Liverpool in 2001. I graduated in 2001.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I was going to Ibiza and working. So I literally got my certificate and got on a plane the next day. I went to Ibiza for, I think it was about 8 weeks, in a hotel out there playing. Let's just say I was a bit twisted by the end of it. And so I come back literally like a little bit twisted and had to start working St Helens College as an FE lecturer. Now, that was a very interesting week, that one. And while I was there, again, the lad who got me into Lippis sort of thing, he'd moved on to Glyndŵr. And he said to me, come and have a look. And I had a look, and it pretty nice. They were building a brand new degree. It was sound technology, but they wanted me to do the career development and that side of it, the management side of it. So I was comfortable doing that. I went there, and I stayed there till 2008. So it was probably about 8 years. Yeah, 2001 to 2008.
And then you landed the job at Lipper?
Dave left or went on leave. They asked me to fill in. Yeah. And at the end of the year, man, he decided he wasn't coming back. But they left it open for him for another year. And I wasn't sure. I wanted to stay, but I felt quite loyal to the guys in Glyndŵr,
Yeah.
So I didn't stay, but I'd done little bits for them. And then I'd done that for 2 years, and then he made me an offer again, and I just thought, they're not going to offer 3 times. It's 10 minutes from where I live. I was travelling 40 miles to work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reason, and Lipper like is there. It's right up the scale, compared to Glyndŵr in Wales. So I took the job, and and the rest is history, so they say.
Well, tell us about your full job description at Lipper. What does it entail?
Okay, so essentially, I teach on the management degree. Now, it's not a music management degree. It's called the Management of Music, Theatre, Entertainment and Events.
Okay.
So it's a bit of everything. And the reason behind that is there's a lot of music degrees and there's lots of events degrees, but there aren't many that do it all. And we do find that because we give the students a broad base of all industries, they think things a little bit differently, and it gives them an edge.
Okay.
So we've kept it that way deliberately. We've had a lot of pressure to maybe change it. We've kept it that way. So, for example, they might be working, and they're working in the music industry, and they're asked to do something. And they remember that lecture they done on the public sector, and they think about it slightly differently. So we actually alumnied all of them and said, we're going to change it all to a core first year and a specialist second and third year. So you pick what you want to do, music, theatre. They said no. 98% responded and said, no, leave it the way it is. It gives you an edge. So we've kept it that way. So what do? I teach career development. I do the practical management projects. So when they're doing, I make a lot of friends in Liverpool. We're all Liverpool One. We do a lot of stuff for Everton Football Club, stuff like that. So lots of performances. And I also manage the placements. So when they go away to do a 3-month placement in third year, I do all the organising for that and the networking and building that and developing that. So we have a lot of international placements. And we have a lot of English, mainly London and that, for the record industry and stuff. So
that's interesting.
That's my main jobs at Lipper.
How long have you been there now? At Lipper?
2008, so what, 12 years, it's going 13.
Wow.
Yeah, no. So the Maccabees, not an old band, they've actually defunct now, split up about 2 years ago. They were my favourite live band for all the time they were together. When they first started out, they was just doing the toilet venues, so there was a little venue in Wrexham called Central Station. It's quite iconic. Everyone you can think of has played there. Radiohead's played there On the Way Up. They've all played there. So the Maccabees were in there. 2 of my students were in there doing the helping out, doing work experience on the sound. Oh. And one of them, Edgy, and one of them, Dougie. Dougie's the Scouser, Edgy's from Leeds. Yeah. Latched onto them. And Edgy stayed with them all the way through and then ended up jumping ship to go with Mumford & Sons because they were much bigger. Okay. Dougie done a bit with them, but he ended up going with the Wombats and Frank Turner. So he wanted to bring them into the studio, and he came in and he had a studio there, and he come in and he done a track there, and I ended up going on the Singers stag do with them and that, So it was sort of mates, but they were just an amazing live band, and 2 of the students done really well out of being with them. So
was the band from, John?
I think they're London. Yeah, a bit snobby.
Okay.
Yeah,
John, you've got some Paul McCartney stories for us. I've been waiting for this bit, mate.
All right, mate. We'll have to detune a couple of them.
Okay.
Just before we go on to that, the Maccabees, one of the reasons I picked that one is because I always thought his voice reminded me of your voice, like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So whatever you think about it, I've had another listen now.
I'll have another listen to that.
It was just something about it which I thought, that sounds a bit like Joe. So there you go.
Cool.
McCartney stories. Okay, so the earliest one goes way back when we were signed to the record deal. We were signed through EMI to Rack Records. I don't know if you remember a show called New Faces.
I do. It was a Mickey Most, and I think it was Mickey Tony Hatch as well, was it? Yeah.
Mickey Most was like the Simon Cowell of his day, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
He was the rat who always used to make everyone cry. Well, Mickey was before anything else. He was a singer. So he was a singer in the late 50s, early 60s, and he was massive in South Africa. And he ended up coming back still quite a young man, probably about 24, back to the UK, and he started Rack Records. And it was called Rack because he'd been to America and he'd seen records in racks. And no one in England was doing that. You had to go into a little smelly shop and, hand us that one from the back shelf. In England, that's the way it was. So he invented records in racks. And he's always, the Rack Records, they were known as for like some Mud and Kenny, all that really pop commercial, Kim Wilde. They also had the Animals. So he released House of the Rising Sun.
Oh, wow.
which was 5.5 minutes long, and he got lambasted, said no one will ever play it on the radio because, as you know, being a radio person, you pay for each minute, each second that it's
Yeah.
on the radio.
You're right.
So 5.5 minutes goes over a certain threshold, and all the producers go, no, stop, stop. So he released House of the Rising Sun, and the rest is history. He was absolutely right. It was a smash, a monster hit. So we're signed to Rack Records. He only signed us because he was a Liverpool supporter. Yeah, and he actually got to play for Liverpool. He was that famous, man. He got a game for Liverpool. They put him on the team sheet. He registered as a player.
Mickey
He came
Most.
on, yeah, he came on as a sub for like 10 minutes in a end of season game, or it might have even been a cup or a charity game, but he came on as a sub.
Wow.
That's how big Mickey Most was, mate. Right, so he was he loved Scousers. Kim Wilde was Scouse, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so I don't know, Alpha, like
Marty
Wilde,
Wilde, yeah.
So we were like his little pets, and he always used to try and impress us, and I remember we were sitting in his office, and he rings Paul McCartney. Hiya, Paul. And we're all like trying not to be impressed because we're Scousers. And we're hard to impress. We don't care, you know what I mean? That's not impressing us. And he starts talking to him. I've got these Scouse rats here. He said, would you mind doing some production for us? And he said no.
Really?
But then Ricky said, oh, he goes for he used to live around, we're in St. John's Wood, which is very, very close to Regent's Park. And McCartney's got a gaff. It's about a 10-minute walk to Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah.
5-minute walk, you're at McCartney's house. Big walled house, amazing. And he used to go for a run around Regent's Park every morning. So we were told, at about 6 o'clock. So there was a tiny little canteen in Rack, and he'd come in and have a cup of tea with Gus, the caretaker. Gus was a bit special. And big guy, very special. And McCartney would come in and have a cup of tea with him. So we decided we wanted to meet him. So we got up every morning at about 5 o'clock. We've been recording till 3 or 4 and sat in the canteen. Well, he never come, mate. 3 weeks later, he still hadn't turned up. And then all of a sudden, there he was. He come in, and we all sat there pretending that we didn't notice. It was a tiny little room, this one. It wasn't a big canteen. And we were talking loudly, and he went, "You're a Scouser." So I said, "So are you?" That's one story. That's that one. The other ones are better, mate. The other one's much better.
Did you get to tell him about that meeting later on?
No, it's really weird at Lipper.
Yeah.
It comes 3 or 4 times a year.
Okay.
It's never announced. Yeah, he clearly comes for graduation, and we know about that.
Yeah.
The others we don't really get to know about. The guy comes up, and he does one-on-one songwriting lessons, classes with the musicians.
Wow.
How amazing is that, mate? I remember coming out of a classroom, and there was a Japanese student, he was sitting on the floor, and he was in bits, Joe. He was crying his eyes out. And I was like, "You're all right, mate? You're okay?" And he went, "Oh, I couldn't talk." And I said, "What's up? What's up?" And he said, "Oh, I've just been jamming Beatles songs with Paul McCartney."
Wow.
No, I'm not messing out of being the same way. But you know what? You couldn't buy that. Could you put a price on that on eBay?
Not for sale.
You know what I mean? You'd run out of nuts, wouldn't you? Because, and for him to do that, I was never a big fan, by the way. I'm a John Lennon man.
Yeah.
And I was never a massive Beatles fan. I am now, I've gone back. You've got to. But I was too busy doing my own stuff. I didn't want to be influenced. So I sort of made a point of not doing it. And I regret that in a way, but I don't in another way. But anyway, yeah, I've gone back since. Yeah. But I was never a big McCartney fan until the last 10 years, really.
Right.
So I've never. We when he comes, we never get told, and they try and keep us away from him. So you've got to wait until he comes to you, and if he does, you take your moments. And I've had a couple of little moments where I'm like,
"Tell us about it, man."
I've never told him that one. Okay. No, but my best one. I mean, it is my best. When he's, as I say, we never get to know when he's coming. You only know when you get to the gates in the morning and they're shut, and there's extra security on.
Right.
So this morning, and it's lashing down with rain. Right, I turn up to the gates, and there's already 10 or 20 people outside. Now I don't know if you know, I like my cars, so I'm in my Ferrari, and I pull up to the gates, blacked out windows. And they all come running over, think it's Paul McCartney. and he wound it down, and it's Harry Hill. And so they open the gates, and I pull in, and this is right back in the early days, this one, mate. It's a long time ago. I park up, and as I park up, a big black Mercedes pulls in behind me, like a limo. And it parks up. And Macca jumps out with an acoustic guitar. And then one of his band gets out. And it looked like George Martin, but it wasn't George Martin. So it's like the three of them. And I'm thinking, so he's running towards the doors. And I'm standing there in the rain, just got out the Ferrari. And I go, have you got Ringo in the boot? And he goes like that. He gives me the thumb, oh, and the Paul McCartney, oh, and the thumb. And then he goes in. So I'm chuffed with myself. And I go in and I'm telling everyone what I've done and all that. And I go through the lectures all day and I'm telling them all. And they're all going, not even laughing. You know what I mean? Some of the kids don't even know who he is. How mad is that? I goes home to me missus. Oh, you won't believe what happened to me today. Tells her the story. She says, you've got your shirt on inside out. And I'm like, what? And I look, and I've got my shirt on inside out. So then I'm thinking, he's gone home there, and he's telling his bird, it's in Liverpool today. Some knobhead in a Ferrari says to me, have you got Ringo in the boot? And he had his shirt on inside out.
He attends every graduation, right? I've heard that he never misses a graduation.
He comes about 3 or 4 times. Clearly, he hasn't been up this year because of the virus.
Yeah. But
he's done all online. We get like invites to conversations with him and all that, and you can ask questions and it's he's great. And at graduation, you'll go in the green room and he'll walk around, and depending how he feels. And when he does a couple of gigs in Liverpool, we don't get tickets for the gigs, but we get to go to sound checks.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen a Paul McCartney sound check, mate, they're normally an hour and a half. He never does a song in the evening that he'd done in soundcheck.
He did the Tobin Centre here, 2014. And through people I know, I got in, but the tickets were $1,000 to $10,000 a ticket because it only holds 1,750 seats.
Wow!
And he did the opening to raise funds for the theatre, and it was fantastic. Yeah, I remember one of the stagehands, were telling me about that. He said today. He said the sound check was a full rehearsal.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He loves it. He absolutely loves it. I wasn't a huge fan. And when I started in Wales, one of the lads there, Colin Erin, he was a huge fan. He arranged a short notice. It was just before Christmas in Liverpool. The snow was on the ground, Joe. There was about 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground in Liverpool. And he arranged 2 gigs at the O2 Academy, in London Road.
Yeah.
Tiny, maximum capacity, 1,000, if that, maybe a little bit less. So the tickets were like hen's teeth. And Colin got 4 on, I don't know how he done it, he got 4. So he gave one to me, him and his beard went, and he gave one to me boss at Glyndŵr at the time. Now, most of the people in there, everyone on the balcony, were his family. So there weren't that many tickets going. So we were there, and he used the house lights, house PA, and he had a 4-piece band, and he'd done 3 hours on stage. We got a fancy medallion as we came in, a hologram thing. He'd done 3 hours. He played every instrument on that stage, piano, guitar, bass. He'd done keyboards. He plays piano. He'd done everything, a banjo, ukulele. He'd done George Harrison songs. He'd done John Lennon songs. He'd done Beatles songs. He'd done Wings songs. He'd done his own solo songs. He'd done a Marvin Gaye tune. He'd done a Jimi Hendrix song for 3 hours, and I cried my eyes out all the way through. I'd never seen anything like it. I was just in bits, and I've no idea. Didn't see it coming. It just happened, and it was the best gig I've ever seen in my life. On the way out, he bought everyone a chip butty.
Wow. Man.
How cool is that? So I've got a lot of admiration for him, I really have.
I saw him in 1990 the first time in the King's Dock. I had good seats. 5 seats away from me was George Martin. I couldn't believe it.
Amazing.
He was sitting 5 seats away from me. But when he did the tribute to Lennon, I was the same. I was bawling my eyes out. I was about 19. And he did Give Peace a Chance, Help and Strawberry Fields in a medley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I heard, talking about intimate gigs, the last time he did the Cavern was around the time he did the Carpool Karaoke. I heard he drove from Lippe to the Cavern. Is that true?
Big thing, that, because Carpool Karaoke was done separately. All the tech and everything was done by Lippe. It was in the Philharmonic. Absolutely top secret. Didn't get to know about it till afterwards. but he seems to be trying to tick things off his list. You know, his old school, Lipper, never played it. So he decided he wanted to do a gig in Lipper in our place. So he came up to Liverpool, and you can imagine there's only 300 tickets. And it was like, again, you know, literally gold dust. And he got 300 tickets. He was doing it like a question and answer, a conversation with, they call it. And it was meant to be a surprise that he was going to come afterwards and do an acoustic gig. But it wasn't really acoustic. It was just not loud. You know what I mean? Because it was electric. It was full drum kit and a keyboard. So it was basically the same thing. And he'd done that. And he'd done like 45 minutes, an hour there, which was amazing. And then the next day, he played the Cavern. Now, I had a AAA for this gig, for the Lipper gig. And I thought, I'm going to take a chance, because we couldn't get into the Cavern. I'm going to take a chance and see if I can bunk in. So I bombs down there about lunchtime, sitting there waiting for me moment. Goes over, just that cool, act like you're meant to be there. Flash me AAA. Fellow went, yeah, all right, let me in. I'm in.
Wow.
Gets downstairs, and there's 2 rooms in the Cavern.
Yeah.
He was playing the bigger room.
The back room, yeah.
So get more people in. So there's no one there, and he's in there, sound checking, and I'm by the bar, and the door's shut, and I'm thinking, need to compose yourself as you walk in to make it, you know what I mean? So next step, getting past that door. So I'm standing there. Next minute, a guy walks past me, double checks me, comes back. Hi, and I can't remember his name now. I'm Paul McCartney's chief of security. What's your name?
Was this a big stocky guy with like silver hair and a big moustache?
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
Okay,
Could be Scottish. He's Scottish.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he's still doing it with him, as far as I know. Now, I'd met this guy before. He'd done a masterclass for us because he started his company, security company, for bands for a £5. He loaned a £5 and started this company. Sold it for 18 million about 10 years ago. So the guy started a scholarship at Lipper so that kids from Scotland could come and go there for free. How amazing is that? Oh. And his daughter was a dancer, and she'd done a dance degree. Now, when I teach the dancers, don't ask.
You teach the dancers?
I do, right, yeah. I do the breakdancing gear, you know. No, I teach them career development and stuff like that, you know. Okay. So I said to him, yeah, I taught your daughter. And he went, yeah, you're going. And he chased me. Yeah, he threw me out. So I couldn't see the gig. So I missed the Cavern gig, which I was devastated about. A couple of my students went. Yeah, said it was amazing. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? Imagine that, man, seeing that.
Well, the reason I know that guy is because I was at the Tobin Centre that afternoon inside, and I was on the stage. Everything was set up. Macca was locked away. I was hoping to meet him, but I didn't. But that guy was checking everybody's passes, that guy. Was he? And you see him on footage. You see him driving down the golf carts with McCartney.
I think he's sort of semi-retired now, but he enjoys it, man. You know, he just enjoys it. What else would you do? Yeah, and he drives them and stuff. You know, Macca drives a lot himself. Got a funny story about him driving.
Okay.
So the lad who I filled in for, Dave Pitchalingi, the staff room used to be on the first floor. Dave was a bit of a shady guy. Like, he so many plates in the air, you know, doing this and doing that. 5 different businesses while working at Lipper, trying to start a festival. Yeah. So he'd do a dart about 4 o'clock and he'd climb out the staff room window so that he wouldn't get clocked, you know. So this particular day, 4 o'clock, he jumps out the staff room window, lands on the deck, and there's Paul McCartney. Now, I don't know whether he's having a biff there, but what he's done, he's come out and he's got in the car and he's driving the car. And he goes like that. And they both look at each other like, you know, surprised, you know. And McCartney goes like, they gives him the shush sign. And he says to him, I'm not allowed to drive my own car. I'm not insured. There you go. Really? So I can well believe that he might have drove over there, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, that Q&A you're talking about, I saw this on was this the Jarvis Cocker one?
He does that one about every year, Joe, yeah. So the gig, I think, was before that, and then the Cocker. No, it was Cocker.
The Jarvis Cocker. Because I remember watching it on YouTube. You ask a question. I was sitting with I was sitting with my wife.
Got my name out, and I went like that. Yo.
Yeah, and he went, "Yeah, John, yo, John." And I said to my wife, "That's my mate, John Reynolds." Yeah, McCartney's just said his name.
I got to ask me a question. I put 3 in, but he picked the one I didn't really want. Who was the best musician you've ever worked with, or who ever not worked with? You know what I mean?
yeah.
And he clearly said George Harrison and John Lennon, but then he went on to talk about Stevie Wonder.
I saw it once when it first came out, but I'd like to see that again.
I was on the front row for that one, mate.
Was you? Wow.
Banged on the front row with Paul Mini. I managed to blag Paul in.
Paul was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
How's he
got
doing,
to
Paul?
see- He's great, mate.
Is he okay? Yeah.
I mean, clearly it's not a good time to be an agent. He's been doing painting and decorating and everything.
You know, quickly I had John Martin on the show, the comedian, and I was asking him about lockdown over there compared to lockdown over here, because we've been back to normal since October, and about 25%, then 50%. Now since March, 100%. So we're back to normal gigging and stuff now. And John Martin said, "Yeah, it's been hard, Joe." He said, "I got a job in a factory. I had a part-time job making little chess pieces."
All right.
I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm on nights next week." John, before we do close, can you tell me what dream car, exotic car hire is? I know you like your cars, you were saying.
All right. So 56 cars I've owned, Joe.
56 cars.
Yeah, 56. Not all cars. Some of them vans. Couple of little, but a lot of really nice stuff. You know, 9 Porsches, 2 Ferraris, and everything else in between.
It's a good job, that Lipper, isn't it?
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. You know how to do music.
Yeah.
I've done quite a bit of soundtrack stuff over in LA.
All right, okay.
I got lucky, you know, with a couple of tracks for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
So, you know, all that bit where where they're all getting stabbed.
Yeah, yeah.
You hear all that psycho dance music in the background.
That's you.
That was me.
Dark Horse, Renault.
I've always loved cars, so it was a way. Someone said to me, "Why don't you hire them out?" And I went immediately, no chance. Why would I want to do that? And they said, "Well, just do like a groom car thing or weddings." You know, and I just thought that's not a bad idea. So I just started doing it as a bit of an experiment. And I was doing so the Ferrari would be a groom car, the camper van would be the wedding car, and then I also had this really old Porsche 356 Speedster, which was white, and the red was Dove, which was a perfect wedding car, you know. And I've done it for about 5 years, 6 years.
John Reynolds, it's been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's great catching up. Fantastic stories. And tell Paul McCartney I said hello next time you see him.
Will do, dude.
John,
and the Maccabees, I'll tell them they're looking for a new singer. I've got your man.
I'm going to check that. I'm going to check that track out now again for sure. I have to now. John, thank you so much, buddy. It's been great, mate.
It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.